I remember the day the villagers laughed at him. It wasn't the first time, but it was the day everything changed. They didn't care about his pride anymore, not when they were all standing there, staring at him in awe. At that moment, it wasn't his limb that made them feel small, it was his courage. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me start at the beginning. Tariq wasn't always this different. When he was younger, he was just like every other hunter in the village, strong, fast, and skilled with a bow and spear. But one fateful night, something went horribly wrong. He was tracking a big game, a giant antelope that had wandered too far from the forest edge. The beast, though massive, was no match for a skilled hunter like Tariq, or so he thought. Tariq never came back that night. The villagers waited for days, but he was gone. When he finally returned, he was not the same man who had left. His leg was shattered, twisted in ways that still made people wince when they looked at him. His hunting days were over. No more running through the forest, no more bringing back fresh meat for the village. From that moment on, Tariq became the crippled hunter. The villagers whispered about him. Some said he was cursed. Others said he angered the spirits of the forest, and that's why the animal had turned on him. Either way, they didn't want anything to do with him. No one laughed harder than Umar, the village's so-called alpha hunter. He was always mocking Tariq, calling him useless. Umar even went so far as to suggest that Tariq should be sent away from the village, that his bad luck might spread to the rest of us. Why keep him around? Umar would sneer. He can't even chase a rabbit without falling flat on his face. It's not that Tariq didn't try to prove himself. He did. He had this fire in his eyes, a fire that told you he wasn't ready to give up. But every attempt he made to go back into the forest, to reclaim his honor, ended in failure. His limp made it hard to keep up, and the other hunters, the ones who laughed at him, never made it easy. But then, something happened. It was on a night like any other. The moon hung heavy in the sky, the kind of night where the wind whispers between the trees, and everything feels a little off. You know the feeling, like the forest is watching you, waiting for something. Tariq had been sitting by the fire that night, quiet as usual, when the village was shaken by a scream. It was Amina, the village elder's daughter. She was running through the village, her eyes wide with terror. "The spirit," she cried. "The forest spirit is coming." There was panic in the air. Villagers rushed into their homes, both indoors and windows. The elders muttered prayers, and the young men, armed with spears and machetes, gathered near the fire, trying to make sense of what was happening. But no one had answers. You see, the forest spirit, or the Zagoro as it was called, had been nothing more than a story for generations. The kind of thing old people tell their children to keep them from wandering too deep into the forest. But tonight, it felt real. It wasn't just a tale anymore, it was coming for us. "Everyone stay calm," one of the elders shouted. But no one was calm. The sounds coming from the trees were unnatural, echoing through the village like a wild wind. A roar, deep and guttural, rattled the air, and with it came the sound of trees breaking, of the earth trembling. In the middle of all this chaos, Tariq rose from his seat by the fire. I saw him, limping slowly toward the group of hunters. The villagers looked at him, their faces twisted with disbelief. No one had expected him to do anything, let alone move so confidently toward the chaos. "What are you doing?" Umar called out. "Stay out of this, Tariq. You're not fit to fight anything." But Tariq didn't listen. He turned to face Umar, his eyes filled with fire. "It's time to prove you wrong," he said, his voice steady, like the earth beneath him. Then he limped into the forest. The tension in the village thickened. People gathered at their windows, clutching children, waiting for the inevitable. Tariq had no chance. We all knew it. Umar smirked, shaking his head. Hours passed, and just when we thought we couldn't bear it anymore, something unexpected happened. The ground began to shake again, but this time, it wasn't just the roar of the forest spirit. It was a massive thud, followed by a piercing cry that echoed through the trees. The hunters grabbed their spears and rushed out, led by Umar, but something stopped them in their tracks. Out of the trees, staggering toward us, came Tariq. He was dragging something behind him. The creature, something like a beast with the body of a lion and the head of a jaguar, was massive, its eyes burning like embers. The forest spirit. The very thing everyone had feared. And it was dead. Tariq had slain it. The hunters stood frozen, mouths agape. Tariq, his leg mangled and bruised, had managed to kill the very spirit that haunted our land. He didn't even look tired. He was covered in dirt, his face set in determination, but there was no fear in him. Not anymore. Impossible, Umar muttered, his voice barely a whisper. How did you do that? Tariq didn't answer. He just dropped the beast at the center of the village, its body collapsing with a thud that seemed to shake the very air. The villagers, who had once laughed at him, now stared in silence. He had saved us all. He had done the impossible. But as I watched him, something else caught my eye. The beast's body was glowing faintly, like it was alive again, even though it was dead. There was something wrong. Something off. Before anyone could say anything, Tariq turned to leave. "It's not over," he said. "The spirit may be gone, but its curse still lingers." I couldn't shake the feeling that Tariq knew something we didn't. And that was just the beginning. I'm telling you now, this story isn't over. Stay tuned, because what happens next will change everything you thought you knew about the forest, the spirit, and Tariq himself. Like, comment, share, and subscribe for more of this story. You don't want to miss what's coming next.